Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? A gracious good morning to you, good people. It's your girl KB. You know what I do, and you know why I do it. It's Hump Day. It's May 28th, and it's 2:26 in the a.m. And before I left the house this morning, I watched a little snippet of the news as I was getting dressed, and you know that new internet phrase, and then something happens. Uh, that's how I feel about the news these days. And I want you to understand something. I want you to see the skewed view, if you will. I want you to see the institutionalized and structural racism, just even in our thought process. And a lot of us, decry being called racist. But I'm here to tell you, or like I like to say, I'm here to told you that this country is foundationally racist. And the minute that you begin to understand it is the minute you begin to really make impactful changes. Real talk. Okay, so here's some structural examples. Now, in the hood, we have corner soldiers and what we like to call D-boys. And the whole purpose is to get that bag, that, I want to say, capital gains, if you will. So if you're going to be a businessman, it's capital gains, right? And you're going to hustle. You're going to stay out there until you get survival money. Now, most of us have existence money. Paycheck to paycheck is an existence. Survival means I have the means to negotiate and move into different areas and be okay. When somebody says they're a survivalist, that means they go out in the woods, they dig caves, or they do whatever, they learn to eat whatever, and they're going to be okay. Now, somebody that's just existing is going to catch his as catch can. They may starve to death. They may be exposed to the elements because they're not prepared. Most of the opportunities, if you will, now I'm stretching that word, in marginalized communities cater to existence. Now, every so often, somebody will get exposed to survivalist techniques and they're able to move to different environments. Education, there's a spark. That teaches me a different skill. I can go somewhere and get some more different skills. Okay? The system is set up for marginalized folks, black, white, or other, to stay marginalized. You got subpar schools, you got subpar supermarkets, you got subpar, housing opportunities. Somebody's making money. It ain't you, but somebody's making money, right? You got usurious loan rates. Somebody's making money. It ain't you. You feel me? That is the institutionalized racism that's built into the system. Now we have this new phrase, because now we have overcome, and I say that with all the sarcasm I can possibly muster. You had Martin Luther King, you overcame, as you silently rolled back anything that you agreed to during that time. Think about it. I'm spitting truth right now. That being said, you've had your time in the sun. Now we got phrases like, you will not replace us. We've got the khaki wearing Klan. Still covering your face because you're proud, but you ain't proud enough to say, this is who I am. That part. So I want you to really pay attention to what's going on. Now, the last little punch in the face for marginalized folks is this phrase, no one's above the law. Now, you're going to keep telling me this lie because it's your blanket, your fire blanket, if you will. No one's above the law. We have no kings. So I want to say, how upset are you really when you're allowing certain people to do things that you know are lawless, unethical, racist, race baiting, further marginalizing, hate mongering? Oh, you call it Christian, so you don't really have to deal with it. That part. But this last little tidbit, okay, the phrase, no one is above the law, except the people who steal the most. Okay. Did anybody get a report on Doge savings? Now, thousands of people lost jobs. Hundreds of thousands of people lost jobs, really. How much did we save? Anybody know? Where's that economic report? Information was harvested. Where'd it go? What was taken? Anybody know? Okay. No one's above the law, though, okay? Then we're being told who can and can't go to school, who has the opportunity for higher education. If you can't afford it, you can't go. If you're defending this country and you're returned, we have this thing called the GI Bill, and that was an incentive for people to enroll in the military, right? Where are those benefits? And who's capitalizing on them? Then, we gave a lot of talk to universal health care, because this is America. We gave a lot of talk to universal health care, but then we had the Affordable Care Act, which was nicknamed Obamacare. A bunch of folks who showed their racism decried Obamacare, but they didn't know that their health care was part of that Affordable Health Care Act. So you rallied against the title that it was given, or the nickname that it was given, as opposed to understanding how your benefits worked. And you shot yourself in the foot. And now we're being told that healthcare really isn't necessary. We have a person that has no medical background telling us what we can and can't do. We also have that very same person, this very same person is now talking about barring scientists and doctors from writing in higher educational journals. No, these are the thoughts that prompt more study and more medical knowledge, because it challenges other people's brains on certain subjects. It's like, for me having like a rabbinical conversation. Well, scripture says this, and then somebody says, well, no, I interpret it to mean this. So then you go back and look at it, and you build on the thoughts that you're bouncing off one another. We're going to do away with that. So we're going to have somebody with no kind of medical knowledge, no scientific knowledge, don't even know what they majored in college, but because they read somebody else's books now, they're the foremost authority on health, and they're dictating what we can and can't do with no foundational information other than you read somebody else's information. Okay. But no one's above the law. And now we have a series of pardons that says you're above the law depending on the amount that you steal. We have a sheriff who has no ethics whatsoever, who curries favor by, the bribe, convicted. Then we have the reality TV stars who were just pardoned, who stole millions and then capitalized on a TV show that sold this idea of wealth and I want to say stupidity. I'm just a stumbling bumpkin that happened to be rich. No. You're not the Beverly Hillbillies, you stole. But this is who we're excusing. And then there's this constant murmur, this constant undertone of a possible Derek Chauvin pardon. Now, this is an individual who thought it was okay to put their knee on the carotid artery of a black man until he was unalived. You have to say unalived because your videos will be filtered, but we all know what it was. And the crime was, I believe, selling cigarettes. And even if it was, I want to say, a legitimate crime, maybe shoplifting, whatever, if there was a legitimate crime, does that give somebody the right to take a life? Okay. Is shoplifting a life sentence? Because I know kids who shoplift. I know kids who get rowdy. Is that a life sentence? There's this prevalent thought that if your skin has melanin in it, that you are somehow deserving of every ill that you could possibly think of. Then there's this faction of folks who are against whatever, but they never move beyond lip service. And as long as we wrap it under the umbrella of the radical left or calling something Christian, we're okay with it. You don't think that's sick? You didn't learn anything by history. The history you no longer want to teach because you don't want people to feel bad. See, if you feel bad, that's a thing called the conscience. Or, we had that phrase, trust your gut. That's your gut telling you that you're creating a new moral compass. We're a sick group of people, and we're getting sicker by the minute. And I'm not talking about physical illness. I'm talking about moral and spiritual illness. I'm at any point waiting to see the golden calf.